Hi friends, today we are going to draw an animal eye. As you can see for mine, I based mine off of a reptile. Mine is more inspired by dinosaurs and dragons. Be creative with this. Think of what animal eye you'd like to draw. If you have pets, don't be afraid to use your pet's eyes. For this project, you'll want colored pencils, markers, crayons, any coloring supplies you can really think of. You will want a darker color though for the black and something dark to outline with. You definitely want an eraser too. An eraser is very important for this project, and a pencil to start out with. All right friends, so for this project, we are going to be creating an animal eye. Now for this, you can choose any animal eye that you would like to do. I would pick one though that is more interesting and maybe a little more complicated to do. I am going to do a reptile's eye. It's almost like I'm basing mine more off of a dragon's eye, just because I think they're really cool. There is a lot of scales involved with this, so it does take more time. However, if you want to do like a cheetah, a leopard, a polar bear, flamingo, chameleon, that's fine too. If you do a reptile or any animal that has scales, it will take a little bit more time because there are a lot of individual scales. But if you do an animal with fur, I do recommend drawing in that fur best you can. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and make my paper more square. So right now we have a rectangle that we're working with. So I'm just going to come in and draw more of a straight line that comes down to kind of block it off. So even now I would say my paper is pretty square. I just won't deal much with this area right here. So I'm going to make that line a little bit more bolder so I know like that's my no-go area. So because we are just focusing on the eye, you want to make sure that you make it fairly large. You want it to pretty much take up your whole paper. So the first thing that I'm going to do is start with a circular shape. Now part of the circle will get covered up, but I'm just going to start with that basic eye shape to have my starting point. And if you need to look at a picture while you do this, that's fine. My picture is over off to the side. So I'm gonna start with my circle shape. Now I am making it pretty large because I want this to be my focal point. So now that I've got my circle shape, I'm gonna come in and draw my eyelid. And I want it to kind of curve out to give my animal more depth. So right up here, this top part of the eye, that will be lost. And I'm just going to kind of curve this for my eye shape. And I am gonna come down and kind of cut this part off. And I'm gonna pull this up to meet with that last line. So this part will be my eye shape. I'm going to erase this top circle part. I'm going to erase this bottom part. And I'm going to wipe away my eraser flurries. So I'm noticing that this looks kind of awkward, so I'm going to just curve that top part out a little bit more. And I'm going to now thicken this line up and just kind of thicken this one up as well. And now I am going to go in and draw the iris and the pupil. So because I'm doing more of like a dragon shape, I am going to make it more of like a crescent almost. But depending on which animal you choose, that will change. And make sure you have an eraser because things will change a lot as you do this. So coming back down to this part, I am going to draw an edge. This is for the eye portion of the skin. I'm gonna pull that back. Now if you need to pause this as I go, that is fine. I recommend it. And because I am working with a reptile, there are scales, so I am going to start creating some of those scales, especially for this eyelid part. This is the outer portion of my eyelid, just to help act as a guide. And you want these lines as well. This helps give more depth. Now once you start coloring, you'll see that more of it will come to life. Now, I'm going to outline what I have so far because I'm going to do most of my scales in pen just because I feel pretty confident about doing it. I'm sure I will make some mistakes here and there, but for the most part, I'm going to try and stay as consistent as possible, and that's mainly just to save time. So now I'm going to go in and try and add just about all my scales, and that will take a moment. Now my scales on the eyelid are going to be my smaller scales. I'm really just creating these lines that are kind of building off of each other, and they're connecting. Alright, so now that I've got my smaller scales done, we're gonna move up to above the eyelid in this region right here. And these scales are going to be larger. I'm just kind of doing this curve shape to kind of go around it. Just making larger scales that are overlapping. They're just a U shape. Okay, so now that that top part is done, that's where we're leaving it for now. I am going to come down here and just kind of start having fun with these creases. So we want to try and follow these creases with our scale shape. Now I'm making these larger and I'm trying to actually create hole shapes. Now they are more organic than the ones up here. Well, than the ones up here, which are still pretty organic. And I am kind of jumping around. Shape. And I am still referencing my picture. Once we start coloring, it gets much more fun and it comes together way more clearly. So as we come down here, I do know that this part's gonna be pretty black. Based off the picture, pay attention to the creasing. If you wanna follow the same picture I'm using, that's fine. Or follow and do what I'm doing, that's fine. But if you're using a different one, pay attention to your animals, like the folds of their face. And I am gonna come in with my black colored pencil to help with my shadow, just so I know that I don't need to add scales there. Just darken it up. Same thing's gonna happen here. It's just where it's the darkest. Okay, I'm gonna come over here and just kind of darken that up too. So one thing I'm not crazy about when I use colored pencil is I always have to sharpen them, because my black, I already need to sharpen it. But I mean, I guess I do use that one a lot. I do use the black colored pencil a lot. I like bold outlines. And I'm just gonna go in and just fill in my scales. Now, as it gets farther away from the eyes in my image, the scales are getting larger. So I'm trying to make them bigger as I go. But I'm still trying to keep it flowing with the curve. Just keep in mind, the smaller you make your eye, the more you'll have to do with this background. And even looking at my eye, it honestly could have probably been bigger. Okay, so now we're gonna jump to coloring. So I'm gonna end mine and kind of follow this eye shape. So with coloring, this is up to you. You choose the color of your animal, unless you want to stick with your picture, that's fine. I'm going to be working with yellows and reds because I love warm tones. So I'm gonna have my red colored pencils and my oranges and my yellows. Gotta get them situated. Okay, so the iris and the eye, the pupil. I'm actually gonna make this black, so I need to sharpen my black again. I'm gonna go in and press pretty hard. I want it to be as saturated and as dark as possible, so I'm gonna press pretty hard when coloring this in. But you can use marker, crayon, colored pencil, watercolor would even be cool for this. So it's up to you. But if you use watercolor paint, definitely ask for permission, just saying. And I am holding my paper down because I am pressing pretty hard. And I don't want my paper going flying away. That would be unfortunate. I've done that a lot, where I should have held my paper down and I didn't, and I made a mistake. But that's when you get to be creative and you have to find solutions. How do you fix it? I don't know. We'll just do this. And instead of wiping it away, I'm blowing any of my extra colored pencil off. That way because if you wipe it, you might smear it. And I don't want to smear it. So, that's black. Awesome sauce. So now I'm gonna take my yellow, and because I want more of a tip, I sharpened it just a little bit. And I'm gonna go around and just start kind of creating this glowy aura around it. I'm just kind of making some circles that create this illusion. And as you can see, my black is mixing with my yellow. That's fine. That's fine. I accept it. And I'm just kind of going in and just making circles. So now we've got this hazy effect. Now I'm going to go in with my peachy tone. I'm just going to kind of go back into the yellow with it a little. Just kind of blend them together. Now this project is more about use of colors and blending. I mean, yeah, the hard part is kind of mapping out your eye and getting it done. But what's really gonna help and do the trick is once you start putting color down. So I've gone over it with my peachy tones. Now I'm gonna use a light orange and just kind of go in and just start making circles and swirls around. And I'm just gradually building up my colors. Gradually building them up. I'm using tones that are similar and just building up that value. So once I've got that, I'm gonna take my dark orange, sharpen my dark orange because I want more of a tip, because I am using the side of my colored pencil, and I'm just kind of lightly blending it around. And I am pressing a little bit harder on the edge of it. But where the colors meet, I'm pressing lighter. I'm just going in and just doing these swirly circles. And I'm just pressing harder as I go towards the edge, the outer range. And I'm gonna take my red. I'm gonna go to the outside. There we go. Like red broken. I'm just gonna press harder on the edge with my red. And start working my way into my orange with the red. I'm just going to gradually come into that orange with the red. And I'm pulling the red in pretty much to every color. Trying to go over them, because I want the red to be the main eye color, but building up those tones gives you a more interesting effect. And now, because it's really cool how white works, I'm going to take my white colored pencil, sharpen it, of course. And I'm going to use that to help blend my colors. So have it on its side and just start going in. And just start pressing pretty hard. And it just kind of blends your tones together. So that's one really awesome thing about a white colored pencil. You can use it to blend. And I'm just going where I feel that it needs it the most. So that is our eye. Now you can do the same technique with different colors. You just want to pick like your 3 lightest, 1 middle tone, and then your darkest. And that's how you kind of build it up. So now for this part, I'm going to make most of my reptile warm tones. So I'm going to take my yellow and just kind of go over that whole outer part. And honestly, you can bring it out to all of this area too, because yellow will be your base color. So what I mean by that is that this is like your starting point color. So you're going to use this as your underneath color, and then you'll build up with oranges, reds, and other tones. And I'm just going over it pretty quickly because I know more color pencils are going to go over it, so it doesn't have to be super perfect. Same down here. Now be careful going over your black because it will smudge. If you don't want to smudge, I suggest trying to avoid going over the black as best as you can. And I'm just gonna go in over here, pull it down. So now we've got our base tone down. Now I do want to talk about hitting this part real quick. This part will be your pink because that is where the eye, like the skin is, the animal skin. So that will be a pinkish tone. And then in here, I am going to start kind of coloring that part in because that is the skin for my animal. Like the pink part of the eye. Just gonna come in over here too and do the same thing. Now I'm not doing it perfectly, and it's almost like scribbly in, because I am going to take a, is this violet? My violet. And kind of go in, just kind of pull some lines in. Kind of go with the eye. And you can even add in some shadow up here if you'd like to with your purple. For shadows, don't use black because black usually comes off too harsh. If you use a violet or a purple, that really helps create shadows, especially on eyes. I really like shadows on eyes done with purple. It just looks better that way. Okay, so once you've done that, we're gonna go in with our orange and just kind of hit spots where you would see shadow. So like up here, there'd be shadow. Like where the eyelid creases. Just kind of pull that down. There'd be shadow there. It'd be darker around here. Like even if you look at your own eyelids, you've got shadow there. And even kind of like up here, there'd be shadow. Where there's like a crease. Which we have our purple kind of reflect on the eye, and then we'll have our orange here too. And I'm just going in quickly. I'm not doing individual scales for my shadow. I'm just kind of building it up where I see fit. And then you can come down here too where you have your black and just kind of guide your orange or whatever, whichever color you're using. If you're using green, blue, just guide your color along that. Just helps with your value. Here, I would make it darker too. So then once you've got those tones in, I'd even come up and do this area too. Where the eyelid is. I'm going up towards the brow. I'm gonna take my black and just kind of go into this line, darken it up. Okay, so now we're gonna go in and add our red. And I'm just going in and just kind of lightly going over some of my orange spots, adding my red. I am gonna add some darker tones here as well to kind of help give the impression that our eye is three-dimensional. I'm just gonna hit where my orange was with my red. Just gonna fill in those spots. So depending on the tones you're using, so if you're doing cool tones, warm tones, or a mixture of both, you're just gonna choose your darker color to kind of go over areas. Now, our main focus though is this mid-section. We want things to come out more three-dimensional. We want that depth. So, once you've done that, if you wanna finish the rest, that's fine, go for it. I'm gonna stop there. So the main focus is just working with those colors, working with your values and tones, and just knowing when to press hard and when to press softer, and when to layer colors. This is more focused on color layering. Sorry, this part is bugging me. And there you have it.